everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a full and comprehensive review on the Blick Artists Soft Pastels. Now originally I was going to zero in on this Artists Landscape set of 30 full sticks, and we are going to talk about that set in this video, but I also have the full range. I have the deluxe wooden box set of 180, so it's all the colors, and I've even purchased some open stock here and there. So I have so much experience with these pastels and with the full line, so it just didn't seem to make sense to me to do a separate review for this set versus the full set. So I thought that I would do a review on the whole, just a whole review, rather than breaking it up into separate videos. The painting that you're currently looking at, I did on pastel matte using the colors from the landscape set of 30. And it's an Isle of Capri painting that I will be uploading to this channel soon, so you'll be able to see that if you're interested. But a couple of things that you can expect to see in this video. We're going to be talking about the claims that the company makes. We're going to be talking about price, availability. We're going to compare them to some other mainstream brands, most notably the Rembrandt Soft Pastels, because I feel like it's their most comparable competitor. And in fact, Rembrandt has a set of 30 landscape colors that is eerily similar to this set, which makes me think that they probably modeled their set after theirs. We're also going to be doing some comparisons to the Mount Vision pastels a little bit, and even the Schmincke's a tiny bit. Although I will say that it's not 100% fair to bring Schmincke into this, since they're going to be about double the cost. So we're going to read off the claims. We're going to talk about the texture, comparisons, pigment strength, light, fast, and pigment information. And overall, I'm just going to give you the benefit of my experience and a full review on these pastels. So if you're interested, just keep right on watching. We're also going to be swatching some of these out. And like I said, I will show you both sets in depth, the packaging, the color selection. So you'll be able to see all of that in this video. And I'm going to let you know my honest thoughts and the pros and cons of these pastels. So, like I said, if you're interested, then just keep right on watching. Alright, so before we get into the individual sets that I have, like the landscape set and the full box set, which I'm going to show on camera, and I'll pull out all the draws, I'll show you all of the colors and all of that, let's go ahead and take care of some of the basics. So first I want to read off the claims from the website, and then I want to go ahead and show you these pastels up close so you know what to expect with the label and the size, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then we're going to do some comparisons for swatches and pigment strength and all that stuff, so just bear with me. So the claims on this pastels, it says, Blick Artists Soft Pastels are available in a variety of rich, vibrant colors and soft hues, ideal for all types of pastel painting and color sketching. Created by combining the finest pigments with minimal amount of binder, Artist Soft Pastels have a velvety texture that offers easy laydown and consistent coverage. They're great for blending, layering, and softening edges, all with minimal crumbling. They're also extremely light fast, and then it goes into the individual stick measurements. Alright, so as far as the texture, they're claiming they have a very velvety texture that allows for easy lay down. I agree with that 100%, though the different pigments will have different textures, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The first thing that I want to do is give you a close-up of this pastel so that you can see what you're going to expect when you get these home. Whether you buy them open stock or in a set, each of the pastels is going to have the color name on it as well as the number. Very basic label. It just says Blick Artists Pastel and Made in England. They do not have, unfortunately, the pigment information or the light fast rating on each individual stick. It is available on their website though, and that's good to know. But I just wish that they would have went the extra mile. Like Rembrandt, for example, you get the pigments written on each individual stick and the light fast rating as well. So I did take a look at the pigment information for each stick and the Lightfast information, and these are tried and true pigments. Most of them are incredibly Lightfast with very, very few exceptions, and they are respectable, fine quality pigments, so that is all good. Some brands don't give you any pigment information. There's lots of mystery purples and mystery oranges and reds, and you don't know what's in there. Blick's not doing that to you. To give you a size comparison, here is a Rembrandt. You can see that the Rembrandt, and I'll do an up close, is a much tighter shape. The Rembrandt is going to be harder than the Blick Artists Soft Pastel, so that does make sense. And the Blick Pastel is a little bit fatter, a little bit chunkier. Most comparable, I think, in size to a Schmincke Pastel. They look somewhat similar in their packaging as well, although the Schmincke is much softer. They have a very nice soft velvety texture. They're going to be softer than a Rembrandt, absolutely, but not quite as soft as a Sennelier pastel, but without the crumbling issue, okay? And even though I absolutely love Schmincke pastels, I have to say, and by the way, I'll be doing a review on Schmincke very soon on this channel in the next couple months, because just a little sneak peek just to let you know, I did order their 100 box set, and it's coming all the way from Germany, so it won't be here until sometime mid-February, and that's when I'll be doing a review on their pastels. So be sure to subscribe so that you won't miss that if you're interested. But as much as I love the Schmincke pastels, I will say that they do crumble quite a bit. The Blicks don't do that at all. They really don't crumble, and they have a similar texture. Now, I know that's a large statement, especially considering that the Schminckes are about 3 times the price. These are definitely not as soft as the Schminckes, but they have that very similar buttery, velvety, smooth, almost talcum powder kind of feel to them. Very, 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 very velvety. You can see when I lay, this is a piece of Canson Mitons that I have here. Just look at that nice buttery line. I mean, it's just so, I wish you could feel these pastels. Most of them have this beautiful, beautiful feel to them without any crumbling. However, this color particularly, the Chestnut Red 4, I actually have this exact color 3 times. One came in this set, one came in the full set, and I ordered one open stock. Why? Because the one that came in the Landscape set was so hard. It had a coating on it. Like, if you guys are familiar with the old Rembrandt coating, I don't think that's an issue as much with Rembrandt nowadays, but several years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so, Rembrandts used to have that hard coating, and you'd have to grind through it in order to get to the good stuff inside. Some of these have that, and the Chestnut Red, at least in my Landscape set, had that absolutely. So I ordered one open stock, and it's much better. It's much, much better. But the one that I got in the 180 box set is the softest of the 3. I have no explanation for why that would be, but it is something that I feel is worth noting. I think it's definitely worth taking to mind when considering buying these. All right, so I actually wanted to zoom you down in on this so that you could really see this. I want to do a quick comparison to some other brands. So what I have down here on the left hand column is the Blick Artists Soft Pastels. This row, the second row, is Rembrandt. The third row is Mount Vision. And this fourth row here is, I have a couple of Schminckes here, but this one I was going to use to compare to the orange. I didn't realize I'd grab the orange B, which means there's black added. So that's not comparable because obviously it's not going to be as vibrant because it has black in it. So that's my mistake, and I apologize. Down the left-hand row, like I said, we have the Blick. Here in the yellow column, you can see that it definitely has more pigment than the Rembrandt. The Mount Vision wins it, absolutely, is the most bold, full coverage, opaque, beautiful punchy yellow here. And then the Schmincke, I only have this lemon yellow from Schmincke at the moment. So, but you can see, I mean, I think the Blick held its own up against the Schmincke and it outperformed the Rembrandt. In the orange column, the oranges, to me, you could just see the Rembrandt is glowing. That is one of the most, probably the most punchy oranges in my whole collection. I think Rembrandt actually wins it. But the Blick oranges, I can just see there's more filler in that color. As with the burnt siennas in their collection, I just feel like you can see there's more filler, and that's the most saturated orange that I can get in the whole range, and it's really not doing it for me. So that one is a dud. I wouldn't call it a dud, but it's not as saturated as it should be. The red, I think that it's, for the price, it's definitely trying to compete. Mount Vision wins it, and Schmincke is a close second, in my opinion. The reason that I wanted to compare it to some of the more heavy hitters as well as the Rembrandt, which is probably its most comparable in terms of competitor, is because I wanted to show you that I feel like in some instances it can hold its own, like up against the blue, for example. You know, I mean, obviously the Mount Vision is a little bit better, but pretty close, I would say. Honestly, not in texture, but in color, you know, saturation, same thing with the turquoise, same thing with the green. The white, I think, definitely does better on sanded papers, but as you can see, the violet's pretty good too, but Schmincke wins the violet. The red is just a step down in pigmentation. It's not going to have the pigment that some of the others has, but it's still pretty good. And if you weren't comparing it, I think you'd be very, very happy with it. Overall, the coverage is really, really nice. And especially when we're talking about the price point here. If you were a beginner or a student, a young artist, or an artist on a budget, do I think you'd be happy with these pastels? Yes, I absolutely do. Now, the coverage, I think, is better somewhat on a lot of them than the Rembrandt. The Rembrandts are harder, so it takes a few more passes to build up the same color strength as the Blicks, which are softer than the Rembrandt, but certainly not nearly as soft as the Mount Vision or the Schmincke. Let's make no mistake about that. Some of them are harder and some of them are softer depending on the pigment also, so they're a little inconsistent in that regard, but they are certainly softer than the Rembrandt. And but the color saturation, as you can see, is pretty on par in most instances, but you do take a little bit of a step back with that red and a significant step back with the orange, in my opinion. Okay, so I just wanted to offer a comparison there. I want to zoom in a little bit on this set. So here are the colors that come directly in this set. I swatched them out and then I put a little bit of packing tape over them just so that they wouldn't get dirty and smudge all over the place. I don't recommend that you do that ever with your pastel work. You shouldn't be putting shipping tape over top of them because the acids are going to change the color significantly. But for the purposes of this video, temporarily it's going to be fine. You can see here that the colors, this is just a piece of Canson Mitons paper, the colors are very vibrant and it's a good selection, I think, for what you're getting. But on this paper, you can see that the white is somewhat transparent, and that is because the Blick Artists Soft Pastels is using a Lithpone white instead of titanium. I think it's because they wanted to be able to tout their non-toxic claim, which you can no longer do anymore with titanium white, even though it's in your toothpaste and it's in your soap, but all of a sudden it's a problem in pastels. Got it. So I'm going to open this set up. I want to show you this packaging. The most of the sets come in cardboard. This is a nice cardboard and it is a nice thick quality. Here are the colors for the top row. Here's what you can expect to see. And then you also get another tray. On top you get a nice luxury type piece of foam. And when I say luxury, I mean the foam here is very thick. I'm going to do a close up on all of this. This is nice soft high quality foam, and it is very thick. So if you get broken pastels, I would be incredibly surprised to hear that, because these are really nicely packaged. These are some of the nicest packaged pastels that I have ever seen. The Rembrandts don't come in foam this nice, and even the Schmincke's do not come in foam this nice. These are packaged very nicely. Now, I did want to show you that a couple of the pastels in this set, I purchased this set first, and then because I like the quality of the pastels so much, I purchased the full 180 box set, which will run you right now $338.95 for the wood deluxe box set. When I got mine, it was $400. So that is an excellent, excellent value, and we're going to talk more about that set, and I'll show it in a few minutes. But I mean, if you were to get a 180 wood box set from any other brand, you're not spending $338. I'm just going to put that right out there. The olive green that came in this set, which is olive green 4, definitely had that signature coating on there, and I'm going to definitely show you this one close up. You can see the coating. It's shiny, kind of waxy, and it's darker. What I did was I ground some of it off on a piece of sanded paper, and what was inside was much softer and much smoother. But the hard part, I mean, now it's nice and soft and beautiful, but that hard part was not usable. I mean, it just doesn't leave any pigment at all. So that could be an issue that you run into if you order these, and I wanted to be honest about that. Only 2 out of the whole set of 30 had that, and then with the wood box set of 180 that I purchased, none of them had that issue. I have no explanation for that, which means I can't guarantee to you whatever set you get won't or will have it. You know what I'm saying? So I've got to be honest with you. This Chestnut Red 4, we talked about this one a little bit before. I purchased a replacement for it because it also had that really hard coating. Again, I ground off that bit. You can see it. It's shiny and kind of waxy looking. I don't know why that would be, but just like the Rembrandts used to have what was known in the art community as the signature Rembrandt coating, some of these have that too. Not all of them. Most of them are very soft and buttery and lovely, but occasionally you'll run into one that has that coating. If you do, you don't have to purchase a replacement, although for the cost, let me see what I have here. $2.86 each right now a stick. That is really, really good. So they're definitely cheaper than the Rembrandts. It's not a real big issue to replace those two, but I found out it wasn't necessary. I just took a piece of sandpaper and I ground that coating off, and it was perfectly fine what was inside. So that's something to keep in mind. Most of them very soft and lovely. The color selection on this landscape set I think is very, very good. I was able to mix pretty much anything that I wanted from this set when I was working with a Seascape. I took the inspiration from the package lid here for my own pastel painting. I went ahead and thought, well, maybe I'll try a Seascape. I think you've got a lot of lovely sunset colors, sky colors, water colors. There are some very usable earths here. My only note on this set in terms of color selection, what I'd like to see changed, is that there is no very, very dark brown. The darkest brown they have here is Burnt Umber 3, and you can see that that's still kind of a mid-tone darker brown. In their full set, I know they make a Sepia 4 and a Van Dyke Brown 4 that I would like to see replace this color, because frankly, I had to mix between the two colors, the brown and the black, quite a bit, because there's just no nice dark saturated brown in this set. And then the other color note that I had is that they put in Terra Verte hue number 4 here as the darkest green, and it's still too vibrant. It's still too vibrant. That cannot be your dark shadow green. Instead, I would rather see them put in Green Gray 4. Which is a black and green color. You're going to need that. Now you can absolutely mix between the black and that green 4 and get a darker color, but you know, there are a lot of times where I would really like to have, and you can see they mix lovely, and there is your black and green color, but I would like to see that in its purest form in a set like this, and definitely a nice dark brown. However, they do have a lovely selection of greens. You've got a nice sap green, yellow green, the hooker's green, a very vibrant grass green, an olive green. So the green selection, every green in here in my opinion is usable. Sometimes you get those glowing like phthalo green colors that are not usable. I don't know how much glare there's going to be on here. They also gave you a nice selection of raw sienna and burnt sienna. So I do think they did an excellent job composing this set. All right, so this right here, what you're looking at, is the full 180 set in the deluxe wood box set. Current price on this is $338.95. I have never seen it that cheap. When I purchased mine, it was around $400, and the list price is $592. For a pastel cabinet like this, you would likely pay upwards of $100 or so. So to get the full range of the pastels plus the box for $338, that's amazing. If you were to be taking a look at a wood box set from any other brand, you know you're going to be paying way more than $338. I would actually jump on that if I were you, if you wanted them and you knew you wanted the full sticks and the full line. If you knew you wanted this, now's the time to buy. Now, I actually purchased mine several years ago. I'm only just now getting around to doing the review. As I had mentioned earlier, I had originally purchased the landscape set of 30, and then I liked them so much I purchased the full stick set. But I have years of experience with these, and I think that it's worth taking a look at some of the artwork that I've completed using these pastels. Not exclusively these pastels, but at least 50-50 these pastels and Rembrandts. I'm going to insert some pictures now. You might be surprised. Before I show you this in depth though, I did want to show you the lines that you can get. So I've got this scrap piece of paper out. This is a Rembrandt pastel. So you can see how fine of a line that is. Here's the Blick Artist in almost the same color. You can see how much fatter. So here's the Rembrandt. Here's the Blick. See how much fatter that line is? That's because these are much softer. Okay, so I just wanted to mention the texture one more time. These are softer than the Rembrandt by quite a bit. So this color belongs right here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take each of these draws out, and I'm going to show you the different colors in just a moment, and I will edit that together for you. But I just wanted to take a little knock on the side of this wood cabinet. Hear how hard that is? Okay, this is a nice heavy set. You are going to need something sturdy to put these on. The sides and the draws themselves are made out of a nice hard wood, and they have nice wood handles, so there's no knobs to get loose or to lose. And again, that nice, I'm going to call it luxury quality foam because it's the nicest, thickest foam I've ever seen support any pastels. The top, however, it is wood, but it's a little bit thinner. So it's not flimsy, but I would not set anything down on top of this, especially anything heavy, because you would be kind of crushing the pastels, I think. So I thought I'd give the rundown of the pros and cons list. And while I do that, I'm going to play a speed demo for you of the strawberry still life painting that I did. If you've been with me for a while, or if you're familiar with my artwork, you'll recognize this painting because it was the first painting and the first video that I ever uploaded to my channel a while back. It's relevant because I used a lot of the Blick Artists Soft Pastels in this piece. Almost all of what you're seeing in the background is exclusively Blick Artist, but I also needed some extra dark shades that simply were not available by Blick in their current color range. I hope that that's something they intend to change in the future. So I had to pull in some Rembrandts for that. And here is my recommendations for purchasing these pastels. I'd recommend that you buy the 120 half stick set for around $96. It's going to be the most economical choice while offering you the most color variety and the biggest number of pastels for your money. And then purchase a set of the Rembrandt Extra Darks. That way you would be all set with everything that you needed to begin painting in soft pastels. Rembrandt really does have the best extra darks, the most chromatic, lovely darks, and I use them on a regular basis regardless of what other brands I may be using. They have a set of darks, 15 full sticks for around $47, or they recently released a set of half sticks, set of 10 extra darks for just under $20. So that really is going to be the most economical way to go. If you purchase the set of Blick Artists 120 half sticks for around $96, and then the half stick set of Rembrandt Extra Darks for under $20, you know, you're going to get in there at under a price point of around $120 or under to be set up with nice quality supplies at an entry-level price point, and I think you'd be very satisfied with that setup. I'm mentioning really beginners here more so because I think that's, you know, beginning artists and artists who are looking to take their artwork and their supplies to that next level in quality, but may not be wanting to invest hundreds or even thousands of dollars in some of the more luxury brand pastels. I really think that's more who these pastels are going to be geared towards. So that's why I mention more beginners here. But of course, I think that they're a great economical choice for the artist on a budget as well. All right, so let's go over the pros and cons list. My first pro is that they have a nice velvety texture, firmly in the medium soft category, allowing for rich color laydown, but easier to control and get details versus some of those more super soft pastels like Sennelier or Schminke. And with those very soft pastels, you would also need more of a specialty paper, an upgrade in price. So if you're somebody who likes to work on Canson Mitance paper or something similar, these aren't so soft that the paper wouldn't allow for that, or that it wouldn't accept the pastel. They are vibrant, rich, saturated pigments that are artist quality and light fast, and all of the pigment information is available to the artist, and I really appreciate that. I feel like as artists we have a responsibility to call that out more and really encourage companies to be more transparent and forthcoming with their pigment information and light fast information as well, because not enough companies are doing that. The price is a big pro on these. They are very budget friendly, perfect for the artist on a budget or beginners or students if you're looking to take a class and you want good quality supplies at an entry level price point. Blick Artist here has you covered. And then lastly, and perhaps one of the best pros, is that they are completely non-toxic. So if you've done any research on pastels recently, then you would already know that inhalation is really one of the biggest risks to artists' health and safety, especially when we're talking about exposure to dry pigment, dust, or powders. A lot of pastels can contain heavy metals and minerals that are toxic, like cadmium, cobalt, manganese, and all sorts of other nasty chemicals that you do not want to breathe. So especially if you're working in a home environment where there may be children or pets around, you've got that peace of mind that while you absolutely should be taking precautions and practicing good studio hygiene habits to limit your exposure, you don't want to sit there and be huffing these. However, you do know that these are non-toxic, so that absolutely is excellent in my opinion, and for that reason I choose to use these sometimes over some of my other brands, especially if I'm having an eczema flare-up on my hand. If you've watched my channel for any period of time, you know that my right hand often has a flare-up of eczema. I call it my phantom hand, and on days where it's really acting up, I prefer to use these versus some of my more more toxic pastels. All right, now for the cons list, I don't have too many, but there are certainly some, so let's talk about it. The first is that there is a slight inconsistency in texture. Occasionally you'll get one that feels more like a Rembrandt in firmness and it has some sharp edges, but repurchase it in that very same color and it may be buttery smooth. Who knows why? That's something that I feel like they really need to make an effort to correct. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen occasionally. And occasionally they have that sort of coating on there that we talked about earlier, that sort of almost Rembrandt signature coating. And so you have to grind through it and kind of work through that on a piece of sanded paper, and then there's good stuff inside, but that does happen, so something to keep in mind. My second con is that Lithpone white pigment that they're using for their white and for all of their tints. There's nothing really wrong with it. It is light, fast, stable, good quality, but it's also transparent, and you're going to notice that more on some papers versus others. For example, on the pastel matte surface, it really grabbed that white and I noticed it far less. But if you're going to be working on like Canson Mitons, for example, you will notice that the coverage power is not going to be nearly as good as some of your more titanium white based pigments. So that can be an issue, especially if you like to work on darker toned papers. So keep that in mind. And then the last con that I have is the limited color range. They definitely don't have a good selection of rich saturated darks, but for vibrant mid-tone punchy colors and tints, they really do have you covered. So that really is it for today's review on the Blick Artists Soft Pastels. I know this was a long video, guys, but I really did have a lot to go over and to cover, having experience with both of the sets, of course, and I like to be very thorough with my reviews. I'll leave a timestamp in the description box down below for the wrap up at the end in case you want to just skip right to the express version of the review. But I did want to thank you guys so much for watching, and if you made it all the way to the end, thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!